the first thing I want to say is I'm really glad that we're at the top.
Yeah.
Because our adversaries would not be operating the way that we do. When America goes somewhere, you can argue with our methods, but at the end of the day, we're there to help everybody. We're there to make the world better for everybody. When our Navy goes places, it's creating an environment of free trade and prosperity and travel for everybody. You know, I don't know that Russia, China, Iran, if they could do the same thing that we do, which they can't.
Or if they even want to.
Or, yeah, I don't know that they would have the same outlook that we do. But where do we go from now? Well, I think we just keep doing what we're doing. We keep making the world a better place. You know, America's the greatest country that's ever existed. We have the greatest constitution. We have the greatest minds. I truly do believe that. And I think we just keep going up.
Americans are capable of achieving extraordinary things when they have the freedom and opportunity to do so. This is American Potential.
Welcome to the American Potential Podcast. I'm your host, David Fromm. So we're coming to you live from Jacksonville, Florida, on location in front of the USS Orlick, which is going to be the site of our another of the America's 250th birthday celebrations with Americans for Prosperity and Concerned Veterans for America. So we've been proud to be at most of these and featuring some of the great stories and the great content and the founding principles that really undergird our nation, and celebrating so many of the people who have participated in that are making a difference in their communities. I'm particularly excited for our guest right now, who's who blends online content creation, kind of what podcast does and what we're doing, with a career in military service, serving as an active duty member in the Army right now. So some of you know him as Mandatory Funday. We know him also as Austin von Letkemann, who is currently, like I said, a member of the Army and just developed a following of millions on online. And so I'm so excited to have you here, Austin, and for joining us, and looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me out.
Yeah, well, we were super excited. I was telling some of my friends and some of my colleagues are like, "Oh wow, I follow him. I was like, so do I." That's great. So, set up for me, like, where, how'd you get into the military? What interested you in serving in the military?
Yeah, so it's so funny. When I was 18, I had a business that I thought I was going to start, and everything fell through. And I was like, I got to do something. And so I went to the recruiting station and I joined. I wish I had a better story of why I joined, but that's the story I've got. And, after I was in, it just, I don't know. It was fun being part of a team. It was fun feeling like I was doing something that was much bigger than anything I would have done otherwise. And so I've stuck it out, and I've done 14 years.
14 years. Wow. That's fabulous. Wow. And how much longer do you anticipate serving in the military?
So active duty, I've got, until August 1st. And then I'll probably do the reserves after that just to finish out.
Nice. Really coming up on it. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Kind of historic summer for your life.
Yeah, seriously. Honestly.
And do you have kids at home?
Yeah, I've got 4 daughters.
Oh, wonderful. I have 4 daughters as well. Nice. I do.
No kidding.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I also have 7 boys. But anyway, but the 4 daughters I do have too.
Lord. You guys are busy.
Yeah. Yeah. People call me Mandatory Funday. Anyway, so while you're serving in the Army, it's such an interesting turn, because that's how you find your voice as a content creator, and eventually it's Mandatory Funday.
Yep. How'd
you come to that?
Yeah, it's so funny. I waited about 2 years, I didn't start posting videos for about 2 years. And then, I started it. I worked through a lot of stuff in therapy, specifically like, my self-consciousness or low self-esteem, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And after, I had made some progress, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do this, and I didn't want to initially. I don't have, I've got a pretty lackluster resume as far as the Army goes. I haven't been to any cool schools or, anything like that. I don't have any tabs. And so for a long time, I thought, nobody's going to care what I have to say. I'm not a combat guy. But I started making jokes because I've always loved making people laugh.
Yeah.
And so I started making jokes online specifically about the military, and everybody loved it, from, the brand new private all the way to, I've had general officers,
really,
contact me and just tell me they like what I'm doing.
That's wonderful. I kind of, actually, if I was in the Army and to be as an officer, even, I'd love that there's a guy here showing that it's, I don't want to say it's
We have
fun,
some personality.
Yeah, like it's like, hey, these are normal, fun people too.
Yeah.
That can also be, it takes all types to make up the army.
Yep. I love that you say that because I have a lot of people message me and they say, am I right for the army? Am I too old? Am I not, physically fit enough? Whatever. And I tell everybody the same thing. Just go to the recruiter. If you have a desire to serve, go to the recruiter. The recruiter is going to tell you yes or no, and then you can make the decision from there. And I encourage everybody to do a contract. Do one contract.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like it. It's a couple years of your life. You come out with some benefits. You can go to school, stuff like that. But if you love it, who knows? You might be the next General Patton. We don't know. You know what I mean? You might be the next guy that does something incredible.
Well, I mean, how many people have you run it that I've run into post-military service where they credit that as, they were on a bad track or just a mediocre track or just kind of middling, and then all of a sudden clicked in, gave them the discipline or the self-confidence they needed to move ahead and do some great stuff. Yeah.
The military is what has made me successful as a content creator. Most people don't see the back end stuff, the admin stuff, so to speak. And the discipline and the structure and the ability to be self-motivated and a self-starter has made me so successful as a content creator and a business owner, because now I'm a business owner. I've got a brand associated with me, and it's just been incredible. The military community has blessed me far beyond anything I deserve, and I could not appreciate it more.
So when you start making your content and you're in the military, because a lot of people probably think like, well, that's not okay. Can you do that? Is he giving away secrets? Well, what was that dynamic like? Did you?
Yeah, I never had any problems. I feel like I do a really good job of walking the line of professionalism, and humor. And I think people tell that I have a love for the institution, or they can tell that I have a love for the institution. And that's where it comes from. I want to make things better. And I also want to make light of the things that we simply can't change, but they're kind of sucky. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to stand out in the sun in a 4-hour formation and you don't know why you're there. And so why not joke about it?
I think that's kind of one of the only ways, even outside the military, when you're in situations that you can't get out of and it just sucks, you just kind of embrace it.
What are you going to do?
Right. So how number one, I want to know, how have you come up with your ideas for content? And then secondly, like, has that evolved while you've been doing it?
Yeah, I love that question. So first, how did I come up with the ideas? Every content creator has their strengths. Some guys are really good at videography. Some guys are really good at audio and sound. I am really good at the creative aspect, coming up with ideas and scripting them and figuring out how to communicate a concept in a way that resonates with the audience. That is for sure my strength. And so I hire out everything else, obviously.
Hey, that's smart.
I've got a video editor. We would call
it leveraging your comparative advantage.
I recognize my strengths. I recognize my weaknesses, and the military has been part of that, because your leadership will tell you what you suck at. They have no issue doing that.
It's their job.
But it is their job, and we expect a lot out of the American military. It's the greatest military in the world, and I truly do believe that.
True.
But how has the content evolved? Well, I've started transitioning to primarily geopolitics, and then I also incorporate my partners into the content as well. I work with the American Legion. I work with an organization called Veteran Lending Group, and I meet all of these teams, and so I pretty heavily vet them. But that's kind of how it's shifted. I really love geopolitics, and I love adding humor to it, because I feel like you don't see that anywhere.
No. Is there anything that you've done when you look back over your content creation time that you were particularly proud of, or you just cracked yourself up, or was really great?
Sure. Really the only reason I look through direct messages primarily is to find people in crisis. And so, and occasionally I do talk to those people that are just having a really hard time. But what I find more frequently is people will tell me, hey, your videos are the only reason that I have laughed in the last couple months. I've been having a really hard couple months, lost my job, whatever it is.
Wow.
Parent died. And so people will contact me and just tell me, hey, you make me laugh. And then the other thing that's really impactful for me is when somebody has a relative that is a veteran or a service member that they haven't talked to in a long time, and they'll send one of my videos to try and like rekindle something, and they'll start talking about it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's just like that. You know what I mean? And that is incredible. When a daughter tells me they've reconnected with their father because of the content, it's very powerful for me.
How old's your oldest daughter?
My oldest daughter is actually about to turn 12. She'll turn 12 in a week.
So at least a few of them, all of them kind of can understand what you're doing online.
Yeah.
What do they think of that their dad's mandatory fun day? do you make them call you MFD?
No.
MFND?
It doesn't come up that often. But one time all four of my daughters were sitting on the couch with me and we were watching a movie, and my second oldest, Gracelyn, looked over at me and she said, Dad, are you famous? And I didn't know how to respond. I was like, kind of. Yeah. I'm very well known in the military and veteran community. I wouldn't say I have any notoriety anywhere else. I definitely have a lot of civilians that follow me, but it's primarily the military community. And then, there was another time when, oh gosh, we were going through the gate and somebody recognized me, and Gracelyn, that same daughter that asked me that question, she was like, oh, Dad's so famous. He has people, he was kind of teasing me about it. It was great.
That's so cool. It's better than her turning to you and being like, Dad, are you fun?
Yeah, seriously.
So, I mean, it seemed to have that. That's so cool. My kids, having a podcast, which some people watch, my kids are like, hey, one of my friends saw your thing online and asked, like, is your dad famous? And I was like, well, I'm really not. Like, you have a much bigger following. But I appreciate you asking the question.
Podcasts are the medium now. We used to have legacy media, and that's still there for sure. But podcasts are how people get information, and what you're doing is important.
Well, I appreciate that. We're trying to tell good stories, particularly about folks. I always like to think of it as like ordinary folks who stepped up and are making a difference in their community, their state, or their nation, and that's really the story of America. We're celebrating America's 250th anniversary, and that's the story of America. It's regular folks. Yeah. I mean, in a weird way, maybe there was some dude in the Continental Army who's sitting around freezing his butt off, and kind of making jokes. He's the funny guy. He's making jokes with all the other guys, and they're writing it on parchment and sending them to other guys. And that was the original mandatory fun day, just colonial mandatory fun day.
Yeah, the origin of our nation is incredible. It was a bunch of ordinary people led by some extraordinary people. They saw something that they didn't agree with, and they said, we can't deal with this. We can't do this. We're going to fight this, literally. And I cannot imagine how terrified they were. They're going up against a professional military, the greatest military that at that time I think had ever existed. Yep. Certainly at that time, the greatest military that existed. And I mean, I love our story.
Oh, I think I've really been blessed by this America's 250th work that we've been doing, because it's caused me to continually reflect and talk about, the values, the sacrifice, the challenges that the founding fathers, and then, up to now that folks have, the shoulders that we're standing on. It's really incredible. And the courage that these folks were traitors. That were going to be killed for what they were doing if they were unsuccessful.
They were all in from the start.
All in. And a lot of them had a lot at stake, particularly founding fathers. A lot of them were very successful. Yeah. They were very successful in British society, let alone in America. And so I just think it's wonderful. What do you think, celebrating, kind of honoring that spirit, celebrating the 250th anniversary, where do you think the nation goes from here? What do you think we can take from those lessons and apply in America now?
Yeah, we are going through, I don't even know how to word it, but a trying time, maybe.
Yeah,
totally. There's friction within the nation. There's multiple conflicts going on around the world, potential conflicts that exist. And the first thing I want to say is I'm really glad that we're at the top. Yeah. Because our adversaries would not be operating the way that we do. when America goes somewhere, you can argue with our methods, but at the end of the day, we're there to help everybody. We're there to make the world better for everybody. When our Navy goes places, and we've got thousands of sailors deployed, when our Navy goes places, it's creating an environment of free trade and prosperity and travel for everybody. I don't know that Russia, China, Iran, if they could do the same thing that we do, which they can't.
Or if they even want to.
I don't know that they would have the same outlook that we do. But where do we go from now? Well, I think we just keep doing what we're doing. We keep making the world a better place. America's the greatest country that's ever existed. We have the greatest constitution. We have the greatest minds. I truly do believe that. And I think we just keep going up, honestly.
Well, and I think we have some of the best men and women to ever put on a uniform in any country. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of brave people serving the military all over the world.
Yep.
But you look back over the history of the U.S. military, and they've achieved extraordinary things.
Yep.
And certainly in recent decades, it's been all volunteer. It's people who sign up to go and, be part of the most effective fighting force that's probably ever existed.
Yep.
And I think it's amazing. I applaud you for you being part of that. So looking ahead past August, is it, online content creation and kind of finding new ways to do that? Like what's the future hold for you?
So I make, a reasonable income now from what I do. And that's part of the reason why I'm transitioning out. But the biggest reason why I'm transitioning out is I've been trying to do more things for veterans and more things for service members in general.
Yeah.
And I've just found that there's a lot of roadblocks being active duty. The first one is time. It requires a ton of time. And it should, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But I want to do more for the community. I want to give back to the community because it's given so much to me. So that's the biggest reason. The next reason for sure, and it's probably of equal importance, is my kids. I want to spend more time with the kids. And I already have gotten to, I'm on SkillBridge now. So I'm working for a civilian company for, it's 3 months total after I'm done. And so that's been a lot of fun. And, I want to have more time. I want to have more time with the kids and even more time for myself too, selfishly.
Sure. Well, I mean, you did your service. Put 14 years is a lot of time to serve our nation. It's not easy. So maybe just finally, if there's kids out there listening to this or who see you, what would you tell them if they're interested in what you're doing? Like, how can they start down that road or get that interest going or even their capability going that way?
Yeah. The first thing I would say for the youth is listen to your parents. Your parents are the people that want nothing but good things for you. They love you. And, there's no ulterior motives with your parents. But the next thing I would say is don't dismiss it out of hand. A lot of people, I think they think they need to be Steve Rogers, Captain America to join the military. You don't. Yeah. I'm a very normal person, I think, when I'm medicated primarily. But I'm a relatively average person, and that's what the military's made of. It's made of relatively average people.
I think that's reflective of America.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's made of normal people that want to do something great. Yeah. And the Battle of Bunker Hill. I love talking about history.
Yeah.
It's the first battle of the Revolutionary War. Bunch of normal people on that hill. The only reason we lost that battle is because we ran out of ammo. It was a logistics issue. But they repelled the British. A bunch of normal people repelled the British multiple times.
Yep. They had great leadership.
They had good leadership for sure.
And they had regular folks who cared about what they were doing, and they did. They repelled the best army in the world.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Austin, I really appreciate you joining us here with a great backdrop. A great day in Jacksonville, so I really appreciate you. And best of luck, certainly with Mandatory Funday, but whatever you do in the future too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Well, folks, hey, if you like this episode and want to stay connected to the podcast, please like and subscribe and follow us on social media like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And always remember, liberty and freedom are easily taken for granted. Don't take it for granted. Go out there and defend liberty and freedom. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to American Potential. You may listen to more stories from Americans working every day to expand freedom and opportunity in their communities by visiting AmericanPotential.com.